Hello. So last week we had discussed about business strategy, and this week we are going to talk about a strategic map, which is also called as strategic mapping. So let's get started. Now, when we talk about what we are going to cover in this video, we are going to talk about the introduction to strategic mapping. We are also going to discuss few case studies. Then we will discuss about the generic strategic mapping, how to create a strategic map, and what are the key elements of a strategic map, like financial perspective, customer perspective, and internal perspective. So here we go. Now, when we talk about the strategic mapping, right? So a strategic map is a visual representation of components of an organizational strategy and the relationship between companies' financial, customer, and internal processes, along with the learning and growth perspectives. So the first case study, and actually the case study that we are going to look at today, is of Indigo Airlines. Now, when we are talking about Indigo Airlines as a case study, first of all, we should look at two airlines which had completely different approaches. So let's look at Kingfisher and let's look at Indigo. When we look at their working style and the areas that they were focusing on, then it will make more sense for us to study Indigo, right? So when you look at Kingfisher, so Kingfisher dominated most of the airlines at the starting. It gave very friendly service. It gave world-class food and facilities. Also tried to be low cost after they bought a low-cost carrier. Tried to get mass market share. Had two brands, Kingfisher Red and Kingfisher Blue. Offered two levels of food. Mixed focus on passengers. So in a way, they were trying to target the elite customer also and the mass market also. Eventually, they were jack of all trades and master of none. Whereas Indigo was primarily focusing on offering prices which were lower than the competitors and on time takeoff. So, this gives us a fair idea of how important it is to have focus on one thing rather than focusing on everything. Now, when we look at the Indigo business, and when you're looking at their strategic map, so the three things, the three elements to a strategic map: the people, the process, and the customer. So we are going to look at them one by one. So when we look at people, so they made sure their people have on-time team orientations. There's a good flight plan and logistics. They built flight processes and recruited hardworking people. Also, there were good logistics planners around crew managers. Then, in terms of processes, they reduced the turnaround time and they simplified the maintenance and logistics. To a customer, what they received was a low price airline and on time departures. Also, more customers per flight was the result of this, and eventually there was more profit. So it was a very clear-cut strategic map that Indigo has always had. Now let's look at a generic strategic map. How does it look like? What are the key elements? So we are going to look at them one by one. So now when we are looking at the financial perspective, right? So the two key elements which are there in your financial perspective are productivity strategy and revenue growth strategy. Now, under productivity strategy, we have improved cost structures and increase asset utilization. Under revenue growth strategy, we should have enhanced customer value and we should try and expand our revenue opportunities. And we can have our own, strategy to deliver this or to have this. Now, here are some factors to consider in the financial perspective. So the first one is price of product or service delivery. So determining the real cost of your effort will go a long way towards inspiring you to continually improve. Techniques such as activity-based costing have been utilized by a number of public agencies in their quest to accurately capture the true cost of information. Under this, we can talk about revenue enhancement and financial systems. So, under revenue enhancement, we need to ask what opportunities exist for broadening our source of revenue. Do we currently provide services for which we could charge a fee? And how diversified are our funding sources? Under financial systems, regardless of how you view the accountants in your organization, financial systems are the backbone of most operations. Reliable, relevant, and timely financial information fuels virtually every type of decision you'll make, and financial errors can amount to huge sums of money and waste. Another thing that should always be considered is the EBITDA. EBITDA is known as the earnings before the interest, taxes, and amortization. Refers to companies earning before the reduction of interest, tax, and amortization expenses. It is a financial indicator used widely as a measure of efficiency and profitability. Another interesting one is EVA. EVA is a financial performance measure based on operating income after taxes, the investment in assets required to generate that income, and the cost of the investments in assets. The three elements used in calculating EVA are operating income after tax, investment in assets, and the cost of capital. The formula to measure EVA is equal to after tax operating income minus investments in assets multiplied by weightage average cost of capital. Then EVA is a dollar amount. Now, a company's goal is to have a positive and increasing EVA. The term EVA was recently copyrighted by the consulting firm Steam Stewart and Company, though a lot of companies have started implementing that. Now, let's also have a look at various commonly used financial measures. So there's a huge list here: total assets per employee, return on net assets, gross margins, revenue on new products, return on capital employed. So there can be any measure, depending on which line of business you are into and how you want to go ahead with that. But financial perspective does play a vital role in a strategic plan. After this comes our customer perspective. Now, customer concerns can generally be broken into three areas: product and service attributes, which includes your price, quality, availability, selection, functionality. Then the second is relationship, wherein we talk about the service, the partnerships. And the third one is the image, where we are talking about the brand. Now, this is another very, very important perspective in a strategic plan. There are a lot of different measures that are being, taken, or evaluations that are done to make sure that we are up to the mark from these measures, and we are up to the mark in terms of our customer perspective, because this is the deciding factor whether we'll be in the business or not. So there can be many, like customer satisfaction, there could be customer loyalty, market share, customer complaints resolved, so on and so forth. There's a huge list that I mentioned over here, and you can look at what all measures you want to implement in your organization. But this is one very important perspective in order for you to stay in the business, to be very honest. So now, internal perspective. Now, in the internal perspective, a process is a specific group of activities that is of value. Any process must be able to be tracked as well, using cost, time, output quality, or let's say satisfaction measurements. Now, When we talk about the different processes, so the first kind is operations management processes. So these are the processes that produce and deliver products and services, then supply, production, distribution, risk management. Second category is of customer management processes, wherein we have processes that enhance customer value. For example, selection, acquisition, retention, growth. Third one are the innovation processes. So these are the processes that create new products and services, which is opportunity ID, R&D portfolio, design and develop new launches, and regulatory and social processes are also on the similar lines of opportunity ID, R&D portfolio, so on and so forth. Now, there can be many measures in order to evaluate the internal perspective. It could be average cost per transaction, on-time delivery, average lead time, new products introduced. So here's a huge list. Now, as you have seen, we have discussed the strategic map, which is something that takes months and in some cases even a year, you know, and we have tried to cover that in these 10-11 minutes. So I just hope I've done justice to the topic. But seriously, if you have any questions, any queries, I'm just a call away, I'm just an email away. There are a lot of people who are in touch with us from Facebook, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and we are really grateful to you guys that you guys have been in touch. You guys ask us questions, and that's what motivates us to come up with a new video. So thanks a lot for staying in touch. Please keep asking questions. We are always there to answer your questions. Your questions, in fact, push me to actually get into topics more, study them in detail, and get back to you guys. Also, I'll try and see if I can have more videos on this topic, because business strategy and business strategic mapping is a wide topic and there is no end to it. We can make n number of videos on that. So I'm sure you guys are liking these videos, finding them fruitful. Stay connected, be safe, take care of your families, and we'll connect next week. Take care. Bye.